Hello guys, welcome back to Comic Book Cafe, and this time around we're reviewing Lobo Volume 3, Issue 9. Now Lobo is very controversial to a lot of fans, of course, of the original Lobo series, because of the fact, if you never read Issue 1 of the series, Issue 1, the original Lobo gets killed by this new Lobo, claiming that he was an imposter, which of course if you're a fan of the original Lobo, you instantly did not like this Lobo, so he's very controversial depending on where you stand on Lobo. That all being said, this issue obviously is a continuation of issue 8, where Countess, was it Fabria Odessa, that she's been sending mercs after the Void Whisperer, which of course is Lobo's new employer, and he's wondering how she's been mass producing, spiders, but they're wondering where these genetically engineered spiders are coming from, and the fact that they're actually from her, that she makes from her body, and that's why she's never been able to get tracked down. And anyway, these spiders can control your body, and they got in his body, and right now she's controlling Lobo. And we start off with them in bed together, and more spiders bite into him, and he's like, despite the fact he has a healing factor and all this stuff, it still hurts a lot. And after that's all done, she's walking, with him, and looks like a winged guy, which looks like a hawk person, which I think it is a hawk man, and one other person. So they're there to protect her, and he, despite the fact he's being controlled, he still has his mouth. So he's like, yeah, we're doing what you want because we're being controlled. And she's kind of always makes a comment about, you know what, I could remove your tongue, but I also want you to be fully together to do what I want you to do. So she kind of doesn't like him talking back, but also doesn't want him harmed because she wants him to do what she wants. So, as they're sitting there talking, he spots an assassin, which is actually what Wyvern Cross, and so he's there to basically take her out. You clearly know this, and Lobo gets in the way, and he takes a bunch of these big arrows in his chest, and he's beating up on the guys that Lobo originally beat up, and the winged hawkman and the other girl, and so Lobo pulls out all the arrows, and then he realizes that a little bit later that wait, these weren't normal arrows, and you see him explode in parts of his body. He's like all messed up now, right? Which he does slowly heal over time. And the guy takes out her, her other protectors, and then he at the last second he hits a big EMP. When he hits the big EMP, it kills off all the spiders that were inside of Lobo. So Lobo now has control of himself again. And I'll get to more detail. This is just like a quick summary of the book. And then Lobo and this guy, and Lobo says, I never miss a mark. I always get my mark eventually. And that's all I see of him and Dothan with her trapped there. They do, obviously, they assassinate her. And then they see him talking outside, and Lobo's kind of like, "Thanks for helping. I always get my mark," kind of thing, And the guy is kind of, I heard you were good, but I didn't also know you had an ego, right? But he did offer him to work for his people, which again, to see who winner crosses the Citadel, you have to read the Omega Man books because the Citadel's in that. Anyway. Which you'll hear more about that in the annual #1, which came out last week, which I haven't reviewed yet. But this book ends with you continuing supposedly, or the ending of it could, I guess, you get more detail of that in Lobo Annual #1, which came out last week. Anyway, and he offers him like a job to work for him, and Lobo turns it down. He works for the Whisper Void, and then you see him in his ship talking to Whisper Void, and she's, got a new job for him. And you see Lobo, she kind of wants to take it easy, but she says she has another job for him. So you go after Sestro. Of course, Sestro is, the Yellow Lantern with the Sestro Core. She says she's very dangerous, and any person who's ever been set against Sestro has been, never come back. And, Sestro's really more powerful than they thought he would be, and he accepts the job, and so he'll get Sestro, and that's where we end it with him. Even though at the same time, Lobo's sitting there thinking that's unusual for the Boy Whisperer to be so worried about a job, so it must be serious. This person must be serious that she's doing that. So that's later for the annual. And then we go back to, of course, the lady he killed this issue. She's all beaten up. You think she's dead. Then one spider goes in her arm and she wakes up. She says, yes, we got enough to mass produce, of course, the flesh of which the flesh of which Lobo is race is, because that's what, was Caesarean or whatever. So that's how they end the book, and it says continued in Lobo annual number 1. Overall, a decent book. Not. This is kind of like the cap of the story altogether, because a lot really doesn't happen in this book. He's controlled by her. You see him mentally trying to figure out a way to, he's going to eventually figure a way to get out of the control. His body will eventually figure a way to fight it. And then you see the guy show up, and the guy takes him out, and then he gets Lobo, frees him, and all that stuff. So there isn't a lot going on in this book, but it was just, I can't see it wrap it up because she didn't die at the end. So it wrapped it up, but it didn't wrap it up. It was like, okay, this whole arc is over, but we left it open so you'll see her again, kind of thing. But he finished his job, and now he's on to his next mark, which is Sistro. And after reading this book over time, I do not hate this book. I like the artwork in this book. Colin Bunn does a nice job writing. Cliff Richard does. I like his art in this book. But for some reason, this book has not yet made me like Lobo. It just hasn't. And that's one of the things I'll say about this issue. Is this was an alright issue, but nowhere does it actually make me like the character anymore. Because he's you call it good guy, bad guy? He just sits whatever side he feels he likes the best at the time, and that seems to be what it is. Again, this is a case where you have to read the last issues, a couple issues, or actually I think the whole beginning, to understand the full breadth of what's going on, not only with this character who's the new version of Lobo, but why he's at this through this person, and therefore and so on. So, not a bad book, but it's not one that it's just kind of a finish up everything book and let's move on to the next story. Anyway, what do you guys think of Lobo Volume 3, Issue 9? Did you like it? Did you not like it? How are you liking the series so far in this new Lobo? We'd love to hear your guys' opinions, and I'll do another review soon. Later, guys.